Trevor Lauren with Things to Do in Central California, and today we're going to be talking with Bert Catino of the Sardine Factory restaurant in Monterey. How you doing today, Bert?
I'm doing wonderful.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you coming on our show. So, Bert, we want to know a little bit more about the Sardine Factory restaurant, how long you guys have been in business, and how you guys got started.
Well, it's a very interesting story. We actually been in business 45 years. Even till today, I can't believe it's been that long. But my partner, Ted, and I, we started the business on October 2nd, 1968. We found a dilapidated old building down on Cannery Row, which Cannery Row at the time in the 60s was on a deterioration because the sardine industry had collapsed. My family, of course, was in that industry. And fortunately, I went to wash dishes, and that's how I ended up being in the restaurant business and being a chef. And I worked for other restaurants, but went through an apprenticeship program. But what we wanted to do, we wanted to have something that was unique to Cannery Row. And that's why the restaurant's called the Sardine Factory. It could be called the Sardine Cannery Restaurant, but we figured cannery is just like too stark. We wanted to give a little fantasy approach to it. And of course, the idea was serving local, regional products like abalone, which was conducive in our area. Sardines when we can get them, even though they disappeared in the 60s, the early 60s. And we wanted to have something that had the local influence. Was very much in our minds. But in order to do that, as far as an ambiance in the restaurant, we ended up getting a lot of pictures of the sardine industry. So if you go into our cocktail lounge, you'll see these beautiful pictures of the history of Cannery Row. So it has historical significance as well. And of course, the building used to be a canteen to feed the sardine workers. They had 3 of them down on Cannery Row because, you know, when they pack fish, they used to pack it sometimes 24 hours. And they used to go to these canteens and have coffee, donuts, or sandwiches. And we do have price lists in there. And if you see the prices, you wonder and say, my God, how the heck did they sell those at those prices? But it was like coffee was no charge. Something was 10 cents or 15 cents. But of course, that's history. But the restaurant had developed. When we first got this building, it was an old dilapidated hall. It became the Aurora Hall, which is a Spanish-Portuguese hall. A lot of Spanish-Portuguese people worked in the canneries. So they ended up with it, and they converted it into their hall. And actually, at one time, it was a dance studio, and they actually had a stage. Believe it or not, the stage is where we have the bar today.
Oh, is that a fact?
You step up, and you're right on top of the stage, and you're right to the bar. So it does have some uniqueness to it in that sense. So when we started, we had about a 70-seat restaurant. And over the years, fortunately, we were able to expand it through the successes that we had. And then we added an alcove area that we developed and put some seating in there because we felt it was still a little small. The business grew very rapidly because we were a unique restaurant. We were doing regional food before many people talked about regional food. Artichokes, especially conducive to our area. We make an artichoke bisque to this day. And one of our feature soups is an abalone bisque, which is very unique. We've been serving that for 45 years. In fact, we serve it to President Reagan's inaugural in Washington, the Taste of America. So we've been really fortunate in so many ways that we've been able to really project the influence of the area and the feeling of Cannery Row. And Cannery Row today, as you know, has been developed a lot more than what it was at the time we opened in 1968.
For sure. Now that is such a great story, and I'm so glad that you were able to tell that to us. You know, you guys are in such a unique area of the country, and to be able to showcase all of the local regional favorites, that's just unbelievable.
Right.
Now,
and you know, we've had people come through the years that actually came to the restaurant when they were in high school, and they're still coming today. You know, and they say, I came here for my prom, I came here for the winter ball. And, you know, we have a very unique thing that my partner and I wanted to do something a little different in the service procedure as far as serving when you serve great food. And, you know, there's such a thing as an intermezzo when you serve between courses. And we have an ice swan with a little sorbet that we serve to clear your palate for the next course. That's become a signature item at the restaurant. And we usually give that as a complimentary thing, and many times to, you know, to anniversaries, birthdays, a lot of special occasions. But what's fascinating to me, anniversaries, birthdays. People have been coming to us for years. So we have a tremendous amount of local business that's been supporting us through the years. And then, of course, convention groups that have come to the area, and, of course, the tourists. And as you know, we have the Monterey Bay Aquarium down on Cannery Row, which is great to see. But we have wonderful shops and restaurants down there now. And if you come to Cannery Row, you will see a tremendous area of beauty, of great opportunity to shop with unique gift shops, not just the typical, because we wanted to make sure that we would have some great stores and some great restaurants on Cannery Row that we could be proud of. Besides wonderful hotels. We have the Spindrift Hotel, the Monterey Bay Hotel. I mean, these are right on the water, the Monterey Plaza. It's almost like a Gacci hotel in Italy. And we were very fortunate. That's one of the first hotels that was built on Cannery Row that had such uniqueness to it.
Well, Bert, you guys are certainly one of the more iconic restaurants in the area, so that's just great that you guys were kind of one of the founding restaurants that really kind of started everything down there.
Yeah, I would say so. Even though I have to say there were some other restaurants down there at the time, a place called Neil Devon's, and there was the Trade Winds when we started. There was also a spaghetti factory type place, and but they were very casual. The Neil Devon's was kind of classic in a way, but you know, Cannery Row, when the sardine industry collapsed in the 50s and 60s, I went fishing with my father, my father's a commercial fisherman, 1952. That's when it ended. I was 13 years old, and the next thing you know, there was no sardines. It really became a vacant and sort of an area. We had some fires down there because of empty buildings. And we had sort of a rough crowd living around the area, and we had to be concerned about that. Well, that's all gone now. The only thing that's left is historical significance of the area. In fact, you know, John Steinbeck, the great author, I met John Steinbeck when I was a kid. He actually came on my father's boat. He was a good friend of my uncle's.
Oh, wow.
And it's quite a story with that. I could tell you a story about that. I could tell you a couple of stories about Steinbeck. And, of course, a lot of people come here, you know, always are asking about John Steinbeck, because he was born in Salinas, which is only 15 miles from our area. But he became good friends with my uncle, who was a very successful commercial fisherman, and he would take Steinbeck with him down to Mexico and down to the Sea of Cortez, and that's where he wrote the book, The Sea of Cortez. So there's some interesting stories about how they met. Steinbeck was actually living on Cannery Row. He was living in a home. We had some places that were sort of ill repute, I will say. So he was living, and he came out there and he had all his money on him and everything else, and they couldn't believe this guy who was like loaded with money. And he'd take all the guys up and they go to this bar called the Halfway House, about 2 blocks up Cannery Row, and they sit there and they drink, and they were called the Paisanos. And if you notice his Steinbeck book, that he writes the Tortilla Flats, and actually grew up 2 blocks away from Tortilla Flats, you get these names, you know, which is kind of interesting, and it's just a fascinating. And we have a room at this factory. We seat about 12 people, maybe 14 max, and we call it the Steinbeck room. We have a beautiful picture of John Steinbeck. So, you know, I'm probably one of the few left alive, since I was so young when I first met him, that can still say that, you know, you knew John Steinbeck.
Unreal. That is such a cool story, Bert. Now, you guys, you know, being one of the iconic restaurants down there on the waterfront, you know, you guys get a lot of repeat business. You guys got really good reviews. So tell me a little bit, how does reputation play into your business?
I think reputation plays a lot in my business. I think you have to be very consistent in your product that you're delivering and the people who are delivering it. We always try to maintain a high standard. A lot of our staff has been with us for a long time. Our bartender has been with us 43 years.
Wow.
Some of our waiters have been with us 30 years, and they're still kind of young yet, you know. I consider myself still kind of young yet. I still go in the kitchen because being a chef, I still love to work with food. But we're very fortunate. We kept a very strict philosophy in the fact that, you know, when customers come into the restaurant, you want to make them feel better than at home. You want to make them feel that they're going to have a great experience. You want them to feel that this is their place. It's not our place. They are the king and queens that come through that door, the princes or whatnot. I can tell you another little story about something. You know, about 10 years ago, a friend of mine came in with his 80-year-old mother and was celebrating her birthday. And she was a little depressed. I was working the door that night. And he came up to me, he says, Bert, you got to do something for my mother. She's so depressed. And I'm trying to say to myself, what am I going to say to her? You know, to make her feel better. Give her a good meal, give her good service. Yeah, that's part of it. So I went over to the table and just right off the cuff, I said to her, I said, oh, it's your birthday today, 21. She says, what? She says, I says, 21. And I kissed her. And she went back with her head like that, and she says, my God, she says, you said I was 21. And all of a sudden she had a big smile on her face. And you know, from that day on, every year, for the next 5 years, that woman had to come to our restaurant, and I had to kiss her and tell her she was 21.
Phenomenal. Love that.
And that's become our policy. Everybody celebrates a birthday. I walk up to him and I say, it's your birthday today. He says, oh yeah, you know, it's my birthday. Some ladies, you know, sometimes you don't want to say what age, you know what I'm saying? The age factor. But I say, well, look, you're only 21. Here, nobody goes over 21, and I give them a kiss. They love it.
Bert,
and that's what it is.
That's priceless. Absolutely.
You gotta love the customers. We have a saying in our kitchen, and we have it right up on the wall in the kitchen, next to the cleanliness of the kitchen, which I'm a fanatic about. And have a big word that says love, L-O-V-E. You gotta love it. And if you don't love it, don't be in the business to begin with, because that's what it's all about. And you built your reputation with good food, good service, recognition. And you know, we've been a restaurant with a lot of celebrities. You know, our good friend Clint Eastwood made a movie at the Sardine Factory called Plain Misty for Me, shot a few scenes in there. And we have a lot of people come back and come in and say, oh, is this where the movie was made? And it's always exciting. And you know, that movie has never gone away. In fact, it was just recently played on TV again.
Heck
but
yeah.
Clint was just in the other night with the governor of California. So we do get a lot of celebrities. I can sit here for an hour and probably read them off to you. Bing Crosby used to be a great customer. I could tell you about Phil Harris, old-time actors and actresses, and Jane Seymour, and Joan Fontaine. Joan Fontaine, what a classy actress she was. She just passed away. She spent her 80th birthday at the factory, and I gave her that one thing about the age thing. I was 21, gave her a kiss. So anyway, you gotta love it, and I love coming in, and I guess maybe the restaurant becomes so much part of you that it ends up being like your home, and that's how you got to feel about it. So I'm welcoming them into our home. When you come in the door, I want you to feel like you're coming to my house. Being with my sister. Yeah, and my Sicilian background, you know, my partner and I are both Sicilians in that sense, American. And my father was an immigrant, my grandfather an immigrant, but they all came here, and thank God they came here for the commercial fishing, the sardine, because this area is so beautiful. There's nothing more beautiful than the Monterey Peninsula. When you come here, I don't care if you've been to Italy, Germany, France, the Capri, the Riviera. There's a touch of all that right here in the beautiful Monterey Peninsula. It's fantastic.
Well, I would definitely second that.
Great.
Well, Bert, thank you so much for being on our show. I want to know exactly where you guys are located, and of course the URL to your website, if anybody's looking to look you up online, is sardinefactory.com, correct?
Correct. Sardinefactory.com on beautiful Cannery Row, Monterey, California, 93940. You want to write us a note? Make a reservation.
Absolutely.
But our phone number is 831-373-3775. And we love to have you come and enjoy a great repast at our restaurant.
Absolutely. Well, for anybody looking for a great culinary experience right there on Cannery Row in Monterey, don't forget to check out the Sardine Factory restaurant, and be sure to say hi to Bert.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Bert. We really appreciate you coming on our show. We'll see you up there real soon.
Thank you very much. It was an honor and a pleasure.
Thanks.